All right, we ready? All right. Start by saying how proud I am of this defense. First and foremost, each week you continue to see improvement. Right, something that we talk about each week about how we want this defense to operate. To be able to fight the way that they fight, man, you're starting to see a little swagger with them. You're starting to see a little bit more anticipation as far as plays are concerned. Each week, for the last 3 weeks, we forced a turnover. We're hitting the quarterback. We're getting sacks. Like I say, for Charles Harris to have the most sacks he's had in his career, you're starting to see those things start to show up. So, man, it's a continued process for this team, for this defense. And I can't be more proud and happy that they're continuing to improve. Now, I'm not proud of the record, right? Not proud of the record at all. But those positives for us, third down again, sticks out from last game. Those things just continue to be something that we want to emphasize as far as us getting better as a defense. And the guys are really, really buying into that. So we just have to continue to do that and continue to understand things that we have to work on. There are some things we got to fix. We understand that. And the players know it. They know it. And we as coaches know it too. So we got to make sure we do our job to continue to help those guys get better in those situations.
What does it mean about Harris that he's gotten 4 sacks, 1 a week? It's not like he's got just one big splurge and that's it, but against 4 different teams, 4 different schemes and all that, to do what he's done.
Well, I would say this first and foremost is the talent has always been there. And a lot of times as a coach, you have to make sure you can match that talent with a scheme that allows him to go out there and be successful. And that's one thing that we as coaches, we pride ourselves on, is to make sure that as much as we can, each player try to make sure whatever they do best, you put them in those positions to be able to be successful. And we try to do that with Charles. Right now, he's hitting the quarterback and getting the sacks that we expect him to get. And we want to continue to do it with him along with everybody else and what they do well also. Now, you can't do it with everybody, right, because of schematically how you do things, but for the most part, man, you try to do that as much as you can.
The decision to rush 3, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. It's kind of came on true this past week. Just in general terms, what are the ideal situations when you rush 3?
Well, I would say this. The first thing I do is I look at who we have, all right, and then the next thing I look at who the team has. And you make your decisions from there. We're really young in the back end. And the more you expose them to pressures and things like that, the more issues that can happen. So you try to do the best thing you can to try not to put those guys in situations to where you can expose them. And that's always been my philosophy. And each week is different. There are some weeks where, man, listen, somebody got to have the hard hat, right? And you have to wear that hat this week. And this week, man, I felt like that was the best decision to make. Just like any other week, any other decision I make in the game, man, I feel like those are the best decisions to make, and we go with them.
How much you like to dial up some pressure, so with a more experienced secondary, more experienced defense, I guess it's to say that way.
Well, I don't want to say that, because every situation can be different. It can be who do we have in the game as far as that's creating those pressures. Because with those 3 guys, you got to look at who are those 3 guys, because they're in there for a reason, because there's other situations that happen. Because if the clock was running, then you might have a different play to where you want those guys to do something totally different. So each week, man, I just try to think about who do we have, who do they have, right, and what calls I can make to put those guys in the best situation.
Dan talked about that last drive too, just those couple bigger chunk plays you get out there. How Minnesota sort of had a guy coming underneath in the middle, and had a guy coming over the top in the middle, sort of leave the defender in the tough spot there. What's that supposed to look like?
Well, I would say this, and when you look at that situation in itself, I think we did a really, really good job initially, because we made them use their timeouts, right, which is the first thing we want to make sure they do. Then secondly, we want to make sure if you're going to catch the ball, man, you catch it in front of us, all right, and don't let anything behind us. And those are learning experience for all of us, for some of the younger players that we have. And I know Dan talked about those things. And those guys saw that, and they will get better at that. And also, man, I will say this. Even in those situations, I want to make sure I continue to put those guys and coach those guys to be better in those situations too. So it's not only about execution, it's also about make sure we coach and prepare those guys to operate correctly.
You mentioned the swagger going on for these guys. Does Does your swagger go up as well with the play calling or the game plan? Or are you able to do more?
I got an instant swag.
Beyond this.
That was a joke now. But you know what? It does, man. You know, to see those guys go out and operate the way they did. Like, for example, it was one play, and it makes you feel really, really good because we practiced that play, and you saw Alex, you know, immediately point, like, this is where the ball's going. The running back was close to the quarterback. We knew it was going to be a direct snap. And, man, those guys, like, were beeline. Started with Trey. He set the edge. Alex was running. A.J. was running. We ended up getting, like, a 2-yard loss on that play. It was like 3rd and 3 or something like that. And, man, you just saw those guys, just the emotion, just send chills, you know, down your spine just to see that. And it goes to show you, man, those guys are enjoying playing the game, and they trust exactly what you're coaching them. And that's what gets you to the point to where you're excited to get to the next one.
What'd you like about Jared Jacobs did?
Competed. He really competed. Wasn't perfect like any other guys, but he competed his butt off. And we're going to continue to coach that player, you know, watch that player get better.
Tracy Walker said last year was probably down here for him, you know, admitted as much.
Yeah.
Just what have you thought of his play with last week? It seemed like probably his best performance of
Well, Tracy has grown each week. Still growing, you know, still have some things that we want to make sure we get right with that player. But I will say I thought this was Tracy's best game. And sometimes when you have a new scheme, it takes a while to totally understand exactly what the coaches expect. And it takes a lot of reps at being able to do that. And you just saw in this game that it felt like he totally grasped everything that we've been trying to teach him. He went there and executed. And that's been the talk of this week, is consistency and execution has to be at a high level, especially the way we just played this past game. But we don't want to get in the habit of being all giddy, you know, after a loss. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to make sure that each player know, man, this is exactly what we're looking for. All right? And he did a pretty good job with that.
I think the task you guys have with Jamar this week, I think he leads the league in 40-yard catches.
No doubt.
He's quite the weapon. Just
No doubt.
the problem he poses.
I mean, each week seems like we're playing against some of the top skill players. I mean, last week, you had the 2 receivers in Thielen and Jefferson. Now, this week, we have Chase, we have Boyd. They have Higgins, who's been a big red zone threat, you know, not to mention the running backs that they have. But I know Mixon's a really good one, you know. So then Burrow, I'll tell you what, man, for a young quarterback, I mean, you could really see that he sees it. You know, he can open the field up, and he knows exactly where to go with the ball. So it's going to be another challenge for us. But like always, we'll be up for the challenge. And we're going to try to get all the guys everything that we can give them to make sure they go out there and operate the way they need to operate.
Schematically, a couple more reps should be different, you know, preparing for Justin Jefferson versus Jamar Chase.
You know what? We just try to figure out what they do best, all right, as a total, as an offense, and we try to take those things away. And usually when you do that, you end up taking the player you want to take away also. And that's what we try to focus on. Goes back to what I was saying before, execution, right? When we prepare the way we want to prepare, man, we got to go out and practice and make sure we execute that way. So once you go to the game, man, it's just like clockwork. I mean, we've been doing this all through practice, right? And we want to make sure we do that each week.
Aaron, is there
Amadi missed practice yesterday.
Yeah.
Another hit to the secondary. I guess, who's the next man up in this case?
Well, the first thing is that the league's not going to stop the games, you know, so it is what it is. So wherever the next man we got up is going to be the next guy up, you know. So, and those are things that, you know, you can't flinch, you can't blink. You know, you just got to continue to coach.
Is that like an ongoing competition this week? Or, I mean, obviously, Amadi's still
As far as the competition, as far as,
potentially starting job this week?
man, we try to say it's a competition each week with all of our players. I mean, you look at the safety with Marlowe, he's getting his chance to go out there and play also. So you have to earn your keep, and I believe that in this league. And we try to make sure that's with all our players. And I think that's one of the reasons why each player has improved because of that. And competition makes everybody better.
Last one about A.J. Parker. Obviously, he's had some ups and downs too. He was quite low overall. And to come in as an undrafted guy, be a starter, be as big a contributor as he's been. What is it about his background, his experiences, anything sort of has made him transition so easily?
Man, there's something about Kansas State players that you know they're smart and they're tough. You know, they have a buddy over there that coached over there. Somebody from Kansas State in here? Why y'all laughing? All right, but just their history, in my opinion, their history of smart, tough players. So we knew exactly what we were getting in that aspect of a smart player. But still young, still trying to make it, get his foot in the door as far as understanding exactly what the NFL level is like. All right, so there are going to be some mistakes there. But overall, when you teach him something, he's going to know exactly what to do. All right, it's just making sure we teach him how to do it. Right, to me, that's two different things. He knows what to do, but how do you do it? And I think that's sometimes missed when you coach him. All right, I'm going to tell you what to do, but then I'm going to tell you how to do it. So we try to make sure we try to coach that player on how to do it also. But you're right, that player continues to improve also. We like the player, all right, and he still has a ways to go. But I just can see that player's just career just steady getting better and better and better because of who he is and how he's built.